Welcome to another episode on strategy. And today we're going to talk about chapter number 2. So let me make this bigger and get this chapter going. Okay, so chapter number 2 is about it's actually a very important chapter. It's actually a summary of the rest of the chapters as well. And so that's why it's a very dense chapter, but we're going to cover only a few key aspects, as I said, uncover a few key aspects. And I'll give you details about those. And then in future chapters, we'll touch on other things. So let's get started. So chapter number 2 is about charting a company's direction. And as we're discussing this, I'll give you a ninja skill. This is about the vision for life, vision, mission, objectives for life. So I'll give you that as well. So hang tight and I'll tell you more about that. It's really, really interesting and you may want to watch it again and again to get the most of it. So by the way, so vision, and I don't know how many of you noticed, what I did was I threw a hook and then I took it away. So the reason I'm doing this is because I want you to understand how to make presentations where you can capture people's attention, capture and lead attention. That's what is most important. And the reason why we want to capture people's attention is people are going to be doing other things. Like you are watching video, you're probably doing other things. And for some strange reason, whatever kind of shirt I wear, it comes up as blue in the videos. That's awesome. So this is actually a purple shirt that I'm wearing. Anyway, so the reason you want to capture and lead people's attention is people are focused on other things. So you want them to focus on, what you're doing or, what you want them to pay attention to. And so that's the capture part. And lead is, so once you capture their attention, you're going to lead them in the direction that you want them to go. Right? So the best way, as I had mentioned in the previous video as well, was to start off with a story or something, break it at the climax. That's exactly what the TV serials do. Actually, these days, it doesn't have much value because people DVR it or, Netflix. But back in the days, that was effective. And again, these days also it is effective because there are certain channels where you can't fast forward things. So you're going to capture people's attention, then kind of put a break there. So this way they are paying attention to you and then complete the story. So the way I started off was I was saying, I'll give you a strategy for your life, vision, mission, and objectives for your life. And that's very important. The reason I'm saying that is, let's say if you're going to buy clothes or you go to buy a car, you have a choice. You could go just walk into a lot and you could buy whatever car you find and just take it home. Same thing with buying clothes. Just go buy what you take, but that may not be what you want. You may want, something different, but what you're getting is something different. So how do you avoid that? How do you get over that? So stay tuned and we're going to talk about that as well. So, but let's first go through the chapter. So the chapter is, as you know, we talked about this. So A is your current situation, B is your desired situation, the arrow is your strategy, and how do you take people from that to A to B is leadership. So B also could be thought of as vision. And A, current situation, or what you do currently, is also called mission. How you get from your current situation to your desired situation is strategy, and the strategy could be broken up into objectives. How are you going to get there? So let's just say your goal is, let's say you're a company and you want to be number one, let's say in Houston. So how are you going to do that? So that's when the objectives come in. Are you going to increase the sales? Are you going to come up with new products or / services? So that those are the objectives. Okay. So vision is, what is this that you want? mission is what do you currently do? What are you, currently focused on? And so that's what mission is, and the objective is how are you going to achieve your vision. So you're breaking down that into components, strategy, how you're going to go from point A to point B. So let's get into the chapter. And as I said, we're going to uncover a few key ideas and not go through the whole thing. So let me just back up a little bit. So you are developing your, we're going to talk about values in a little bit. You come up with vision, mission, and values, then you set objectives to fulfill or achieve the vision, and then you come up with a strategy to achieve the objectives, and you execute the strategy. Let me just move this a bit. So, and see, whenever you're doing something, you always want to evaluate and analyze. Why? Because things could change in the market. The stock market could crash, or the competitors could be doing something, the technology could become obsolete, a lot of things could happen. So that's why you want to analyze the market. So these are the external as well as internal factors that could affect your decision. And by the way, both the internal and external factors we're going to look at in detail in future chapters. So here is just a quick recap, just quick summary of the factors. So as I mentioned, it could be industry rivals, changes in the industry, competitive forces, things changing in the industry, stock market, so on and so forth. Internal could be, what is your position in the market? What is your competitive advantage? What are the resources you have? What are the capabilities you have? Things like that. Now, this is okay. So when you're doing your discussions, you could either pick a big concept. I would highly encourage not to, pick something that is small, so you would be able to, talk about it and give an example. So you identify the concept, explain the concept in your own words, and application of that. That's what you're supposed to do. So inflection point is, this is an interesting concept that you could talk about. So the definition occurs when a strategic inflection point occurs when significant changes in an industry require that management must evaluate the risk of changing the company's future direction rather than staying on its established course. Now, this kind of sounds very textbookish type definition, which simply means that there comes a point when company needs to change because technology is changing or things in the industry are changing. There's a new player in the industry. I'll give you an example of this is Polaroid. Polaroid had those cameras where you could print instant photos. What happened? The digital cameras came on the market. Polaroid had a virtual monopoly on it and was making lots of money, but it didn't look at what was going on in the environment. That's why it kind of failed. Tried to come back, but by the time it made changes, the train had left the station, so to speak. So that's the inflection point. Like there is a point, either something happens politically. I'll give you another example of strategic inflection point is like 2003. Lots of steel companies in the US were going to go under because, steel from South Korea was cheaper than the US steel. And things happen. White House, if you have a connection to the White House. And again, no, I'm not talking about Republicans or Democrat or anything like that. That's typically, it just depends upon the political party. So 2003, Bush put 40% taxes on imported steel. Guess what? Then the imported steel from South Korea was no longer competitive, and US steel became competitive. So that's what I'm talking about. That's the inflection point. Sometimes you can prepare for it, sometimes you can't. Like the tariffs by the US, the steel companies couldn't prepare for it because it was too sudden. But sometimes the example of Polaroid, it can happen, you can see things changing in that direction and you can make some changes to it. Next one. So strategic vision. It should be. Let's see. There is going to be some details about the vision part. Okay, so the vision should have satisfied these qualities. It's like it should be graphic, meaning people should be able to paint a picture. You should be able to see what it is that you want. And forward-looking, focused on something, should be flexible. I mean, as I mentioned, changes could happen. You need to be able to accommodate those changes or react to it or take advantage of it. Feasible, you should be able to do it. Desirable, you want to do it. Easy to communicate, meaning you don't have to have like a 500-page like a book to explain it to people. If it's a slogan, it's even better. Jingle, something like that, even better. Again, some more qualities that the vision should satisfy. And as I said, I don't want this to be too long video. That's why I'm going through a few key ideas. And again, here, there's a vision statement by Coca-Cola, and you could go through this and what's missing or why it's not a good statement. Then another by UBS. Then another one by Heinz and Procter & Gamble. And the importance of communicating vision is you want to make sure that people buy into it, and as well as people are enthusiastic about the vision. So that's when they will just go for it. Okay. So now these are examples of vision turned into a slogan. And earlier I was telling you about a jingle, and the jingle would be, let's say, 15 minutes, could save you 15% or more on. I don't have to say it. You already know what I'm talking about. So you got to make sure it is memorable. So now the difference between vision and mission is vision, as I said, is future, mission is present. And this talks about what you're going to do, and this talks about who you are and what you're doing right now. Ideally, company's vision, mission statement, we already talked about. Identify the product, services, how is it going to satisfy the customer's needs, and also sets your company apart from your competitors. And now, you could pick vision or mission as the core concepts. That's fine too. And as I had earlier said, you want to give, explain it in your own words as well as give examples. So this is an example of another mission statement, few more mission statements. And typically, profit is not a vision or a mission. That's companies have to do to survive. So profit is, especially every company needs to do that. That's not what your goal or vision should be. It should be more about, something grander, something that would, grow your company basically. And values, lately values is getting a lot of attention because, again, this is after the financial crisis, and again, before .com and all that. Lots of unethical behavior happen, so that's why a company needs to also adhere to some values. And so, yeah, values, as I was talking, the financial crisis .com bubble, so that's why it was important for companies to actually, do the right thing, basically. So this is, some time ago, this is Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman, he got Nobel Prize, and his basic idea was companies should just focus on this. Let me go back a little bit. Sometimes doesn't want to cooperate. Anyway, so what Milton Friedman got Nobel Prize. His whole idea was this. Business of business is business. I'll repeat that again. Business of business is business. meaning companies should just focus on this, not worry about social responsibility, corporate responsibility, any of that. Just do your job. Don't cut any corners. Don't hurt anyone. Just do your job. That's it. But as that was in the 60s and the 70s, but as years evolved, corporations had a huge influence on everything, on the government, the way people live, the environment, um, the whole world as well. So that's why it became very important for companies to actually have some values and adhere by that. So also, by the way, you'll notice that typically I don't like to discuss religion or politics or people's beliefs. Make sure you also stay away from those in your presentations, because hey, you never know what people believe in. And again, your goal is not to rattle any cages, but you want to make your point across. So why contaminate it by talking about religion or beliefs or politics? That's why you'll see in my videos, I don't, I mean, I will bring up politics every now and then, but just to illustrate a point. But I don't want to talk about something that would alienate my viewers. So because it's all about strategy, this is about business, we keep it as business. So business school professor, my business is to teach you business and also give you strategies for your life. My goal is not to help you see different options, and then it's up to you to pick something that makes more sense to you out of all the different options. So my goal is to help you look at the different options in different ways, and I'm not going to tell you if there's something that you need to pick. It's up to you. All right. Okay, so again, values is a good concept, and here's the mission and core values for Zappos. Interesting company, if anybody wants to pick this. Okay. All right, so now we come to objectives. So the way we need to set there are two types of objectives. So let's go to, okay. Okay, so objectives, two types of objectives: financial objectives, strategic objectives. Financial objectives, you want to increase revenue by this much, earnings per share by this much, so on and so forth. Strategic objective: market share, customer satisfaction, so on and so forth. So when you set up an objective, you have to provide resources. The resources could be money, could be people, could be equipment, anything that would help you achieve that goal. So there are different kinds of objectives, and you want to make sure the reason you want to put some number is you want to make sure that it is clear, people understand what it is, and also you want to put a date as to when would you achieve it. Let's say you want to achieve X% of market share, so you could say X% of market share within the next 12 months. And make sure the objectives are a little stretched. They're not, okay, you are almost there and you're still setting up the goal. Let's say your market share was 5% and now your goal is 6%. That's probably not a good goal to aim for. Maybe 10, 15% would be a better goal to aim for. And some of the objectives could be short-term, some could be long-term. And you need objectives at all kinds of level: business level, functional level, operating level. And so crafting a strategy, based on the objectives. You have the mission and the vision, and then based on that, you have a strategy. And when you break down the vision, you come up with objectives. So then when you have the objectives, you have a strategy for that. So if you want to increase customer satisfaction, then you want to find out how you can please customers, right? And if you want to increase the number of customers, you have a strategy to attract customers. And strategy formulation happens at all the levels. You're involving everybody, right from the top executives to people at the bottom level. And here are some corporate strategy, business strategy, although there are chapters for this, but I'll quickly give you a recap of what corporate strategy is. It's actually for the whole company. So let's just say you look at GE. So GE is a corporation. Why? Because it has lots of businesses under. So corporate strategy deals with what kind of business the company is going to be in. So GE Finance, GE Consumer Electronics, GE Energy, okay, these could be different businesses, and products and services under that would come under the business strategy. So GE's corporate strategy is what kind of businesses it should be in. The business strategy is what kind of products and services it should be in. And then functional area strategies are based on functions, marketing, finance, so on and so forth. And operating strategy is, how are you making, where are you making your products, who is making your products, what can you do to cut cost, so on and so forth. And as I mentioned, there are separate chapters for these, and we're going to go over those in details for there. And then you implement and execute your strategy. You have to provide resources. You have to provide, make sure that there are people that have the skills and the expertise, okay, policies and procedures, so on and so forth. And you're going to manage the execution process. Sorry. Now, there is corporate governance, which again, there's going to be a chapter on this, is there needs to be somebody who can oversee what's going on in the company. So like in time of Enron, CEO and its buddies, the way board of directors used to work back in the old days is CEOs of companies were in board of directors. So CEO of GE would be in the board of directors of Pepsi and Microsoft and so on and so forth. So all the CEOs were in board of directors of each other's companies. So if CEO of GE wanted to increase his or her pay, then they would, all these buddies would vote on it. They would all say yes because they are all their friends, and they know that they would want the other person also to vote in their favor when the time comes. But after Sarbanes-Oxley, all that changed. Why? Because companies were not doing what they were supposed to do. .com, Enron, and all these things happened. So that's why the corporate governance, meaning checks and balances on what the senior executives are doing. So it needs to be a strong and independent board of directors. So they are not swayed by the CEOs or other top management people. Right, so that's it for this chapter. And as I had promised, I'll give you a strategy for your life. So let me ask you a question. Actually, you won't be able to answer, but still I'll ask you. Think about the answer in your own mind. Now, when you actually go to buy clothes, I'm just going to start off with clothes because I guess most of you have at some point in your life bought clothes. Many of you may not have bought cars or anything, but let's just stick with clothes, let's say. So you have a whole bunch of choices. You go to a store, you get a whole bunch of choices, and you pick something because you like it, right? And sometimes, what you find is so awesome, so interesting that you are enjoying it, each and every time, you are with this. Now, the question is, when you go to a store, what is the right strategy to buy clothes? Now, one way is just go and buy the clothes, bring them home, try them on, and if it doesn't work, you return it. Or a smarter strategy would be to go and buy clothes, go to the fitting room and see if, this is what you want, and then, bring this home. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. Taking it to the car, you can just go and buy a car or test drive a whole bunch of different cars and buy only what you like. Okay, where am I going with this? Now, the single most important thing that we do in our career or in our life is actually job. We work, but how many of us actually test drive our career? How many of us okay, so let's say some of you want to be an accountant. How many of you actually talk to an accountant and say, hey, let me see what what an accounting job looks like. So ideally, the way you want to test drive your career would be to look at somebody that is further along, maybe somebody who has 3 to 5 years of experience in what they're doing. Talk to them, and two things are going to happen when you talk to them. One is you look at the person, and then you look at what they do on a day-to-day basis, and you could say, that's not what I want to do. Or the second thing that could happen is you could say, hey, this is so awesome, this is so amazing, I want this. If it's the second way, then what you could do is you could talk to them and get some tips on how you could achieve the position that they have achieved in a shorter amount of time. What are the skills needed, and what do they need to do? Because you might be under certain impression that you need to do certain things. Like, I'll give you my example, is like, I always wanted to do PhD, but I thought I have to do bachelor's, master's, then PhD. So when I was in the last semester of my MBA program, I approached the schools for PhD, and they said, well, we're not going to take any of your credits. And I was super surprised as to why that is. And they said, well, the MBA level credits, MBA level courses are not of the same rigor as the PhD level courses are. I didn't have to take any prerequisites, but I had to go through the courses again. And again, there were lots of differences in the rigor and the quality of the courses. So we do have, a set of things in our mind that that's how things are supposed to work, but that's not how it may be. But to recap, whatever you want to do, whatever your job is, it's not too late. I know you're probably about to graduate, but even in, let's say, accounting, I'm picking on accounting because for some reason we have lots of accountants in our classes. So there you go. Anyway, so the way you test drive your career is talk to somebody who has at least 3 to 5 years experience in that field. And if you don't like it, then you can move on, find something else. Like, you don't like public accounting, you could go to, accounting for trading, investing. You could go for accounting for real estate. You could go for different kinds of accounting. But see what it is that you enjoy doing, and then go for that. So you test drive it, and then if you find something that you like, then make that person your mentor. So that person can give you tips and tricks how to get there faster. Maybe there are certain certifications you need to do. Maybe there are certain courses you need to do. So that will help you as well. So anyway, to quick recap, this chapter number 2 was about vision, mission, and objectives and strategy. Vision is your future. Mission is what do you do, who you are right now, and objective is you're breaking down the vision into manageable pieces. And strategy is how you're going to achieve, how you're going to go from your current situation to desired situation. Again, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in future videos. Right? Bye.